Christmas is fast approaching, and I think for most of us there's something that gets you into the festive spirit. For a lot of us, it's definitely not having to go to the shops and try and find a gift for somebody that's got everything. That's quite stressful. For a lot of us though, we do feel festive when the songs come out, depending how early it is. Sometimes it's a wee bit too early for people. Anyone do Whamageddon, where you cannot hear Last Christmas or you're out? I heard it quite early on this year, but that's a good fun game to play. I love it though, and I start to feel really festive when the TV guides come out and you start to see what the Christmas specials are going to be, and we all start to complain that it's mostly repeats on the BBC. That's always good. It's true though. Is it the same in your country where it's like another repeat? Or they say here it's like 75% of the repeats are on BBC One this year. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we pay our licence fee for this every year. It's always the same. But you get your festive specials, you get especially Gavin and Stacey this year if you watch it. It's a big special that's going to be on Christmas Day. But for me, it can be a lot of the comedy specials, but a lot of the Christmas cookery shows. And I also really enjoy, and you might have it where you live, that if you've got digital television, you have access to the channels where they put the classics on repeat. And I love watching the food channels where they repeat a lot of the cookery classics from 70s, 80s, 90s, and they just make me feel so festive. Now, for me here in the UK, even though it doesn't feel like it's that old, a lot of the Christmas classics now are Jamie Oliver, so I start to feel very festive when they put on like Jamie Does Christmas in New York. That's actually 24 years ago now, which I cannot believe. And a lot of the Jamie specials are on from, again, the late 90s, I'd say, when he really came on the scene, and the early 2000s. I actually won a Jamie DVD once when I entered a competition in a magazine. It was literally one of those phone lines where you leave the answer to a question with your name and address, and about 2 weeks later Jamie's Christmas DVD came through the door. I was like, I've won something, that never happens. So that was great fun. Jamie still does his annual Christmas specials. He's got one on at the moment here on Channel 4. But I love when you turn on like the food channels, and one of Jamie's Christmases when it's like the naked chef, and it just makes you feel old, because to me he's still that age, but clearly not. Anyone remember Delia Smith? She did Delia Cooks Christmas, or Delia's Christmas, 1990. I was 10, and I remember so vividly when that show came on, and it had the really Christmassy music, and each week on BBC Two, I think it was, she would basically focus on an area of Christmas and really focus her attention in that half hour on that. And again, what makes me feel so old now is that I love watching it when it comes on TV every year, but she says things like, you might want to get liquid glucose for this recipe, and you can go to the chemist and you should be able to find it in your local chemist. Now obviously you can just go in the supermarket and get all these things. I mean, they even talk about olive oil, and they're like, you can go into your local chemist and ask for a little bottle of olive oil. And now it's just something that is so easy to get. But to me, as a 10-year-old, we grew up in a household where a lot of us got together for Christmas. We would all come together, like aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. But we didn't have a lot of the traditional things, because it would be like nobody liked mince pies, so I thought I didn't like mince pies. Nobody liked Christmas pudding. Brandy butter, never tried that till I was older. You name it. Like stuffing, I was told we didn't like stuffing. We did get turkey, but again my granddad became obsessed with we had to get a capon. I didn't even know what a capon was. So it was always having to be a bit different, or being told we don't like Christmas pudding, we don't like mince pies, we don't like brandy butter. So all these things, stuffing, I didn't know if I liked them until I was older and I was working, and you started going to the works Christmas parties, and I finally got to try the traditional Christmas dinner with all the trimmings. I was like, do I like this? Do you know, I do. I like all that stuff. So I came home age of 17 or 18, I was like, I do like that, I do, that's really nice, why didn't we ever get that? Are you the same? Are there things that you didn't try when you were younger, till you were older and you're watching these cookery shows? And you're like, I wonder if I would like that. And I do. So I'd love to know if you watch these things too and you're like, I want to try that, that looks amazing. I also think that it's interesting when you hear interviews, and Delia said many years ago that when they filmed that show, it would have been in sort of Easter, so spring 1990, and she said they were actually filming it in her house, and they were pulling daffodils out of the garden because you could see them in the back of the shot, and they couldn't have that because it's supposed to look Christmassy. Which leads me again, time flies, when Nigella came on the scene, again, late 90s, early noughties, and she still does her specials. And how far in advance do they film the specials? Because I feel so festive when you see a Nigella special. But again, when she was in Amsterdam, or when she's filming the specials and it's in London and it looks so festive and you see all the lights, did they film it the year before? Or do they film it with a very tight turnaround? Are there elements where they basically film it through the year, because obviously it'll be a set, and then do they slot in parts that have been filmed much earlier or very close to broadcast? I'd like to know. If anyone knows the answer, or you think you do, I'd love to know. I love some of the really sort of classic ones, again, 70s, 80s. You get Keith Floyd, Gary Rhodes. He did quite a lot of shows in the 90s, and I still think of Gary Rhodes as being so present now. Obviously we lost him a few years ago, but there's a great one that he filmed in the 90s, and again he does all these things that are very traditional. They all do something with Brussels sprouts. Every single one of them reinvents the sprout. I don't have a problem with Brussels, I actually like them, but I believe that they've been adapted from the 70s up until now. They've actually, I was going to say bred them, I don't know if that's the right word. They've adapted them to be much more mellow in flavour, and they're not as harsh. But I don't have a problem with Brussels sprouts, I like the taste, but they always do their own take, and it's pomegranates, and it'll be bacon, and it'll be walnuts, and you name it, brown sugar, everything. So I've not tried a lot of these recipes, but I enjoy the 80s take on how we make them palatable, the 90s take, the noughties take. They've all got a way of saying to us, here's how you do Brussels, I will make them tolerable for you, and I'm here for it. So if anyone wants to try those recipes and let me know if they're nice, please do, because I always watch them and think, I want to try that, and then I end up doing the Brussels my traditional way. I'll leave you with this one though, and it might be very British, but I cannot stop watching it, and it's actually on tonight here on BBC 4 in the UK, and it was a show by a cook here that was terrifying, but she captured her audience from the 50s up until the 70s. Fanny Cradock. Now, she was probably a bit like Julia Childs in America. She was formidable, and she really took the French cookery and she hammered it home here. And by the 70s, she still had an audience, but arguably her audience would be older. And there was a show in about 73, 74, and it was Fanny Cradock Cooks Christmas. Little 15-minute episodes, I think 6 in total. And she was very insistent that at that point in time, 73, 74, Britain, like a lot of places, we were going through a tough time. Now, I didn't come along until 7 years later, but I am well aware, watched a lot of documentaries, been told about it. We had the 3-day week, we had power cuts, we had strikes, and Fanny Cradock was here to make sure that you could cook a Christmas that was going to be first class but on a budget. But the problem was she was terrifying. Apparently a lot of the staff that worked with her were quite scared. She did look after them, so maybe behind the scenes it'd be a bit more chilled, but on screen she would be like that, come here, don't touch that, literally slapping hands out the way when somebody went to help her, saying, no, what are you doing, leave that alone, and her assistants would be terrified. But she did these little 15-minute shows where she showed you how to cook the turkey, the mince pies, the Christmas pudding. You have to watch the mincemeat omelette, there are no words for it. I like my omelette cooked. She's got a very precise way of cooking it with the mincemeat in it, where it's a sweet omelette. I'm not sure I would want to eat it, but I would maybe give it a go if I could cook my own, because I like trying different things. I'll try it. But wow, that woman is something else. I love watching her. I looked for the book for years because it came with a book that you could buy at the time, you could send away for it. You can find it online. It's on Amazon for about £240. It's rare. I actually, about 5 years ago, did find someone selling it on eBay, digital copies. that book is amazing, because if someone could actually chastise you through the medium of a book, she manages it. She's trying to be helpful and she's trying to support you, but she makes you feel like you're doing something wrong whilst you're just literally reading it. I do like where she's coming from though, because in it she talks about how you can do your Christmas stuffing and make it economical, but then she even says like, here's a stuffing for hard times, and she covers everything. Big fan of liver though in a lot of these recipes, but when you look back at those eras, then they did actually use a lot of offal, and it was arguably much more affordable. And again, I follow the biohackers today, much more nutritious. So if you don't have a problem with eating meat and eating meat products, then having liver in your stuffing and adding all those things in is actually really good for you. It's just that in today's world, a lot of people don't bother buying these things, but she was big on that. Also shows you how to do the very traditional Christmas pudding, but again she's telling you how they used to cook it in the copper, which is what they used to use to also like do their washing and literally boil the clothes clean. And then she's trying to put humour in and saying, so when you're doing your Christmas pudding, obviously you can't put it in today's equivalent, which is a washing machine. But I'm laughing because in the 70s it was probably a twin tub, but today we could just put it on a fast cycle and be done with it. Obviously not, but she really does try her best to make it something that she can guide you through for the tough times in the 70s, and she's trying to be really current, and she keeps saying to you, look, I understand it's tough, I understand, but at the same time things had moved on, and Delia was on the scene then, and Galloping Gourmet, there were so many people doing their thing too, but she was there going, I'm still here, I can help you, we can do it our way. And honestly, if you get a chance to watch Fanny Cradock Cooks Christmas, do it. Your chin might be on the ground, but it's so entertaining. But yeah, that's what gets me in the Christmas spirit. My music, my Christmas specials, the comedies, but also those cooking shows. So tonight I will be watching her on BBC4 and I will be here for it. I'd love to know what gets you in the mood, and do you love the Christmas shows? Are there any that they show year upon year where you are? Or again, are you UK based and you think, yep, it's Jamie Oliver, it's Delia Smith, it's Gary Rhodes, it's all these people and more? I'd love to know. And I hope you're feeling lovely and festive. I'll see you again soon.